Thor Christiansen was a Danish-American serial killer and necrophile. He was known as the hitchhike killer. He was completely unhinged and a terrible human being. So let's talk about it. So Thor Christiansen was born on December 28, 1957, and when he was around 5 years old, he moved from Denmark and migrated to the United States. The family settled in Solvang, California. He was a friendly, happy child, but by the time he turned 16 years old, things started changing very drastically about him. His mood was low, he was very standoffish, he was mean, he was aggressive, and he just didn't have any positive relationships with anyone. Not his teachers, not his peers, not his family. He was just an angry, young teenage boy. So this part is interesting because at the age of 16, Thor decided to drop out of high school and he started working as an assistant in a gas station. And when he was working there, he started off as a slender, thin young man, and then he gained a lot of weight. He weighed around 275 pounds. So around that time, as he gained excessive amount of weight, he was beginning to think about dark, twisted fantasies about killing women and sexually assaulting them long after they've died. He wanted to perform necrophilic acts on the bodies. But before we know it, those thoughts became reality and Thor began killing hitchhikers. So on December 6, 1976, Thor abducted Jacqueline. She was only 21 years old. He kidnapped her from a bus stop in Santa Barbara. In the same area, Mary was also abducted and she went missing. On January 18th, 1977, Patricia, yet another waitress, was missing. Patricia's body was found the very next day in a nearby canyon. 2 days later, the body of Jacqueline was found in the same area. On May 22nd, Mary's body was found in a drum canyon. All three bodies were found within the same area. Laura Benjamin, the fourth victim, she was only 23 years old, was abducted and killed by Thor in 1976. All four victims were shot in the head. So the fifth victim survived the gunshot wound to her head. Her name was Preston, and she found Thor in a nearby bar, in a tavern actually, and she called the police. He was arrested and charged with serious assault, but when the police investigated further, they found out that he was connected to multiple murders within the California area. He was subsequently charged with 3 counts of murder. So throughout the trial in 1980, he tried to plead insanity, but quickly withdrew the plea. He was on trial for the murders of Jacqueline, Mary, and Lauren. However, like I said before, Linda Preston survived the gunshot wound in her head. She was actually shot inside her ear, but she managed to escape his car by simply opening the door and just running for the hills. She was literally running for the hills. He tried to shoot her while she was running, but he missed each and every time and eventually ran out of bullets, thank God. So Thor decided to plead guilty to all charges, and then he was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Thor was then murdered in prison on March 30th, 1981. He was only 23 years old. He was found in the Folsom prison exercise yard with a single stab wound to the chest, and his murderer was never identified. Thor does remind me of Edmund Kemper. He also was a hitchhiking murderer. He was just out there attacking women. It's just, I find it interesting where some serial killers only target a particular type of person, you know? He was just murdering students, hitchhiking young women. And it was completely normal at the time to hitchhike, you know? It wasn't something that was frowned upon. Almost everybody was doing it. And 9 times out of 10 people would reach their destination, no harm, no foul. But obviously jumping in a car with strangers isn't safe. But we do that today with Uber and everything, don't we? Rest in peace to all of the victims I've mentioned in today's story. Anyways, guys, this leads us to the end of today's case. Please do stay safe and hydrated, and I will see you guys in my next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.